This situation requires us to use some creative thinking. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. Today we are chatting about Twilight of the Republic prices and what we have been playing for set 3. But first, Jrod has some information to share.
Yeah, hey everybody. Just diving in. I'm heading to Pax Unplugged, which is the first weekend of December. So it should be pretty fun. I know a bunch of players locally had decided to kind of like not go to Pax Unplugged because there's no big event. Definitely a bummer. But they did just make a huge announcement today. One, how to get the $100 black boxes that everyone's kind of sought after that resell for a bunch of money. But I personally am hoping just to get one for myself because it'd be cool to have for Twin Sons. But the big news that came out today was obviously how you get that box, and then they announced that they wouldn't be going. They are as FFG. FFG announced that they wouldn't go to a big event like PAX Unplugged without some new things to show off. However, they wouldn't give us any other information. They said we'll have to wait and see. So that should be pretty cool. Hopefully, I'll be able to be one of the first human beings to see what it is outside of the FFG staff and all that kind of good stuff. So that'll be super cool. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say that it is going to be some set 4 information. Maybe we'll see some space deploying leaders do this, right? No? Okay, cool. So, yeah, I think that'd be cool. So we'll have to wait and see. But that definitely makes PAX a little bit more interesting for me, at least, even though I would still get the information if I was at home. It's going to be fun to play some set 3 with some people and play some games, some Twin Sons, some drafts. And, I'm going to hopefully make some content there as well. So we'll have some cool stuff coming for you on the channel.
So if you see Jrod out and about at PAX and you're there, make sure you say hi and give him a gentle punch in the arm.
Don't do that. But if you do bring an outmaneuver card, I will sign it. So if you want that, definitely.
Firm but gentle.
now he responds. Perfect.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the last convention where they're going to be having the Power of the Dark Side pack. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the last one for the year. So this is the last opportunity to get it. They did say they're doing it the same way as the last couple, which is like an online registration. And I heard from like multiple people that the trick is to get someone at home to do it for you. But I'm hoping that they just find a better way to do it. I don't know. It's kind of definitely a bummer if you have to sit there and refresh. Like, I'm not going to waste my con time at refreshing for that one box. Like, sure. If I can get it, I get it. If I don't, it is what it is.
No, that's fair. So that's exciting news that, though, you have the chance to potentially get that and people can come and find you at PAX. You mentioned I think a very fair prediction is to think that maybe we'll get some set 4 starter news out if we haven't got that already. So if you were to take a brief guess, because really we shouldn't start talking about set 4 well if we just had set 3, is there any leader that you're at least hoping that they'll mention, or anything that you're hoping they'll mention about set 4 at PAX?
Yeah, I mean, well, Anakin was definitely the best pilot in the galaxy, so I guess it would be a pilot Anakin for sure for me.
Dudeness?
I'll be excited for anything from set 4, honestly. Set 4 is what I've been waiting for since the game has been released. He's
going to quit the game if they don't deploy into space.
There's a strong likelihood, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm interested for in set 4 is just the flipping. I imagine normally we get twice as many ground units as space units in a set. And so my prediction is that we're going to get twice as many space units as ground units in this set with leaders that deploy in space. Yeah, it just makes the most sense.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me.
Well, if you are still listening to the video at this point, put in the comments any of the conventions that you're planning on going to either this year or next year, and bonus points if you are going to the Galactic Championship. Moving on, let's talk about Twilight of the Republic, and in particular, the prices. So, for those that have had a chance to check TCG Player, it looks like prices of boxes are currently sitting at around $75 USD at the time of recording, and it looks like there is quite a lot of them. Jrod or Dudeness, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah,
I mean singles are cheap, right? Like, boxes are cheap because there's not a huge hit to get in the box. So bad for stores, great for players?
Definitely a double-edged sword here with the boxes being so cheap, which basically means that the stores over purchased or over like asked, which definitely happens because typically when you ask for an allocation, you don't get 100% of it. You get like 10 to 20% or whatever. So if you want 100 boxes, you ask for 1,000 and expect to get 10%. Or in this case, you ask for 1,000, you get 1,000, then you get like, how do I sell these 900 more boxes, right? So likely what is happening right now, again, great for the player, bad for investors, but that's fine because it'd be good for the players because that's how the game grows. And then of course the stores does hurt a little bit, so they'll probably be a little wary next set of what to purchase. But it seems like they figured out their issues with printing, and even the collation I'll point out was also pretty good. I didn't see anyone mapping out the boxes, so that's a good news as well. So a little bit overprinted. I hope they maybe correct a bit, but at the end of the day, good for the players. Stuff is cheap. Like Cad Bane's like $15 last time I checked. Like that's nuts to me. So that's super cool.
On the flip side of that, you've got now there are 2 of them, which is about pays for about half of a box on its own, which is pretty impressive. Just correlating that to set 1 box prices at their kind of PK day, we're going to say we're like 250. And that's when Vader was around 100, and so Vader was also about half of a box. So you're getting a similar kind of proportional level with now there are 2 of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're also seeing, and just for those that maybe are new to TCGs, in set 1, there was only 1 set out, and there wasn't enough of it. And so the only place people could put their money if they wanted the set was into the singular asset, the singular box of it. And now that there are multiple different sets, and so people might already have some cards. So if they there's a lot more supply of this set, and there's also people already have cards from other sets as well. So there's a kind of a mixture there. Would explain partly why the first set sold so much and sold out so quick, where this set there seems like there's so much of it on the market and the price is a lot lower. So it's a normal thing in some ways.
That's a really good point, because in set 1, you needed the set 1 cards to play the game, right? There was no other options, no other choices. That was it. Now in set 3, you can just get the set 3 cards that you need to make the decks you want to make, using a lot of cards from set 1 and set 2 or something. So that definitely impacts the market, because nobody needs these set 3 cards as much as they needed set 1, because there's nothing else to play with, right?
Yep. And I should say that as well. You can, on TCG Player, which is one platform of selling things, there's also people selling product from their local stores, local store websites, eBay. So those are all other ways of that boxes get sold. But just looking on TCG Player itself, we're seeing about 100 boxes a day sell, which is a pretty decent sell-through rate. So it's not like these are on the market and no one's buying them. Clearly, people are buying them. There, as Jrod mentioned, there is a lot of supply out there. Most likely, what happened was stores asked for a lot, and as Jrod said, they kind of need to ask for a lot generally. But instead of only getting a portion, they got the full thing, and now they're left with a lot. But people are still buying them, even though it's a lot. One last thing, in other TCGs, there's actually a lot of games which are having sets released at this time as well. And so Star Wars is still putting up numbers, even compared to other big IPs. Magic the Gathering Foundations, I think it had a pre-release when Star Wars had their release. At least there were people playing this set when I was at my release day event. And I think Lorcana releases their 6th set, which when you're listening to this would be on the 15th of November, so a couple days ago from when you're listening.
Another big thing for this game is that TCG Player is considered to be the place to go for collectible card games. And up until this set, we were under the More tab. However, we are on the top bar now, ahead of Flesh and Blood in the ranking. So that's massive news for the health of the game and like where things are going, in my opinion.
And I think like we got to remember one of the reasons that so FFG clearly printed a lot more of this set than the other sets, and it makes sense. Like set 1, they're not sure how they're going to do. And really, by the time set 2 came out, they didn't have time to adjust for the release. As they mentioned in the stream, that once they realized this thing would be big, they tried to print more of set 2 so we got a good restock, a decent restock. With set 3, they were able to adjust a little bit and make sure they had enough boxes. One of their big concerns was the fact that they made this game with limited in mind. And so for them, it was a big priority to make sure that they had enough product so people could actually play limited. We are going to have people that are just opening boxes to get the cards, which makes sense. But another aspect of this is the utility of the pack itself to play limited, which I know I'm a huge fan of limited, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember for set 1, I got to draft a ton, and it was super fun because I had multiple stores near me that held product back for that. And like talking to people when I went to different events or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, you got to draft? I didn't even get to draft this set." Like, so I mean, I was a very fortunate spot to be able to draft a ton of set 1, and it was a lot of fun. It definitely, when the restock hits, I definitely recommend bashing away a box or two of set 1 to draft that in the future at some point in time. Set 3 has also been a blast to draft. I've done it twice now. Had some good luck with the drafts, so yeah, been a lot of fun.
I have not had a chance to draft set 3 yet. I think this Monday we will be drafting set 3 finally, but Sealed for sure was fun because I got to play with Anakin and just smash face.
Yeah.
Note, new players, Anakin cannot hit based on his ability. I saw way too many new players that pre-release is doing that. And I was like, hey, friend, the card says units. So
reading the card explains the card, strangely enough.
And just an additional point to that, if you are new, you can give that buff to an overwhelm unit, and then it can deal with the damage to the base. But as Jrod said, it does need to attack a unit first.
Correct.
The best unit for that in Limited is Dindup's Loyalist, so draft as many as those as you can get if you're playing Anakin for sure.
What does that card do, Dudeness? Since you
2/3, 2-cost, single aggression that has Overwhelm.
What about the 3-cost 4/3 in green?
Also a great pick. If you're in green, right?
If you're in green, yeah. So you do have to go a little. You have to pick a color in that sense. But I find green red in set 3 is a very good combo.
It does seem pretty good, yeah. Hero red in general just seems really good, honestly.
That is true. So and actually, we did talk about some of the cards that have kind of we're getting a little bit of an idea where cards' values are coming out. I'm actually probably I want to say I'm surprised now there are 2 of them. I thought it was the best card in the set, or at least one of them, and so it having a tag doesn't surprise me too much. Actually, it's Darth Maul that I think is very interesting. One reason is because it was in that convention pack, so people already had some of them. Not that it would totally supply the market. I'm just interested with this 5-cost unit that doesn't have doesn't have an impact when you play it. How people are going to use that. So I'm excited to see what people are going to cook up with Darth Maul. Go ahead.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what you do with them, right?
What's that?
Energy Conversion Lab.
Energy Conversion Lab. That is a good card with it. And if you want to see a deck with Darth Maul and Energy Conversion Lab, you can check out our deck that we came out with.
What? We have one of those. Let's go. Also, he's also good with now there are 2 of them. Because he's kind of a good 5-drop. He's a 5/6, so can't get taken down. Could get felled, but they only have 3 resources, so like probably getting an attack off most of the time.
It's surprising that a card that's in the art for that card would be good with it.
Who would have thunk it?
I'm a little surprised with Kiari Mundi as well. Its price is not totally crazy, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is the fact that it's like there's, as recording, 1 copy for $6.75. Other copies are at around $10. So its stats like are just a 5/7 for 5, which is pretty strong that we've seen. It has a potentially good ability, potentially bad ability. So it's this card I'm interested in to see how it goes.
F that card, man. So I was trying to trade for some hyperspace Plo Koons, and my person I was trading, I want Coyote Mundi. I'm like, yeah, no problem. It's like a $10 card, right? And then, just FYI, hyperspace Plo Koon is $3, and I was getting 2 of them, so it was $6. And I look at Cam or Coyote Mundi on TCG Player, and he's $6.75. I said, well, I guess that's an even trade. Sounds good. Here's my legendary for 2 hyperspace uncommons. So that felt a little weird to me, but I don't think Cam is that. I don't think he's that good. Like he's fine, but he's not like a card that you're gonna like. Yeah, windmill slam. Like he is also only a vigilance card, so there's no other second aspect to him
Which does mean he's more flexible in the decks he can go in, but
for sure. I really haven't seen anyone put him in a villainy deck yet, which is kind of surprising to me. Like not one person is like, let me just try him out. Like it's always been heroes.
I've tried him. I've tried him out in Krennic.
Oh, he's probably pretty good in Krennic.
He's fine. I mean,
I think that's his problem, right? He's just fine. That's just him in general, right? He's just not that good.
Dudeness, your thoughts?
On Kai, like he's fine.
Okay.
Like he's 5'7", he's a big beefy. He's a good target to get out with. Now there are two of them because 5'7" is a beefy boy, but that's about all he is a big stat stick, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And very rarely is his ability actually going to trigger.
Are there any cards that you guys see from Twilight that you think people are way undervaluing and that you think will have a bigger share in the meta?
Cad Bane.
Okay, he lists the third most expensive card in the set. Cool.
He's only $15. He's actually behind Grievous, Darth Maul, and now there's Rhythms. So he's the fourth card.
Yeah,
but I think he's the best card. So if he's the fourth expensive, then he's undervalued in my opinion, right?
Dudeness, any thoughts from you?
I mean, they're all about where I think they should be, honestly. But I thought now there two of them would be the most expensive heading into it, and here we are. So
I am interested to see how that card does. Like I've had a lot of fun building with it. You can expect deck techs that are going to have it in them. However, I do wonder if people are going to get tired of that kind of line and play, and if it'll actually be as compelling of a deck building decision as people try. I also do wonder if Grievous will stay. I mean, Grievous is really a third most expensive card right now. A 3-cost 4/4 with no ability is currently a unique in the set, like as a unique in the game. We don't have any other cards at this stat line, but are we going to get that in the future? And will that make Grievous less relevant? I just don't know if it has the staying power of these other cards.
That's fair. I mean, he's just like always good. He's just never bad on turn 2. Like I think that's probably why you're going to see that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. He is just a flat good card. That's all I can really say about him.
Yeah, he's a good card to play on curve. And in case you guys aren't aware, this game is all about playing on curve.
I do think Satine is a little bit overvalued right now. He's a meme. The card's a meme, and
you said overvalued?
I think it's overvalued right now.
My brother in Christ, it's $4 right now.
I think Chancellor Palpatine's better, and Chancellor Palpatine's $370.
I mean, Mill just speaks to a certain kind of player, right?
It does.
It definitely enables Mill, and that's why she'll be like okay-ish, but
it's got a cultish following, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I don't think she's very good personally, and you'll never catch me playing a Mill deck.
Yeah, I don't like Mill decks. They're not that fun.
The only thing worse than a Mill deck is a control deck.
So that's a good point. In set 3, now that we've had some time to think about deck ideas. What have you guys been gravitating towards?
Palpatine.
Yeah, I haven't even made anything with the set 3 leader. I've been playing a double red Kylo list that has exactly 3 new cards from the new set.
I've been having some fun with particularly Maul and Obi-Wan, both as mentioned before, deck techs you can check out on this channel. Those have been my 2 most interesting leaders I've gravitated towards. I'm in some experimental phases with Asajj in like a discard-like strategy. As mentioned on the stream last week, I thought it was an interesting idea. So I don't know how that will turn out or if I'm the one to unlock that or not, but I just want to try it out. And I think the card, now there are 2 of them, is just really speaking to me lately. And so I don't put it in every deck that could play it, but I do think it's always the first kind of thing I'm thinking about is this a deck where I can put that in, and what will that look like?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think it's a good card. I don't think it's bad. My problem with it is like it just doesn't go in control decks, and even some mid-range decks probably don't want it. mostly because of the card disadvantage that you're getting. Like, I think aggro decks definitely want it. And I think they're like, yeah, which is why I think it could be really good in a Saj red deck. So you go turn 1 and then turn 2 you play that into Maul, and then Maul can really clear boards for you if you need to, or just start hitting base for 5. And he's really hard to remove with the 6 HP as well. So you can kind of go multiple lines with it, and then like if they're playing a bunch of stuff and you have to attack, like you can also in yellow, you can do shoot first with him, which is pretty massive, and basically just take over the board state and just kind of win the game from there. So I wonder if there's some deck list there that people haven't tested out. So that would be where I would like to look a little bit. But yeah,
I do like the red inclusion of the deck, like idea of the red, because then as they're probably saving up resources, or they're saving up their cards to remove Asajj when you deploy Asajj, then the red will just kind of take the cards out of their hand to kind of minimize their response to her, especially because she comes out so quick, but she's quite vulnerable with the same health as like an IG.
Yeah. I think you have to have a board state, which is why I think going 4 cards into Maul could be something that's pretty massive for her. And obviously, you're probably going to play Tarkin Town on that since it's going to be a pretty aggressive deck. But
yeah, that sounds kind of spicy.
But that's the kind of deck I think where that card will thrive in more than Yoda Yellow, where you're trying to get Plo Koon on turn 2. Because like Plo Koon is fine as a 3/6, killing a battlefield marine on turn 1, right? Taking 3 back, so you get a 3/3 back. But he's never really killing the thing you want because you can't ever play Plo Koon and get his coordinate off with now there are 2 of them because you can't have a third unit.
But then I guess the thing is on your next turn, on turn 4, that's when you play that third unit. And then, so you're right,
Yeah, for sure.
On turn 2, you're getting the 3/6 that takes out their turn 1 play. And then on the next turn, you're maneuvering your board in a way where you hopefully can neutralize their turn 2 play and get another thing out so you can swing for 6.
It's definitely fair. Well, looking at Maul, his only traits are Force and Sith. And I don't think that red or yellow villainy has a turn 1 play that is a Force or a Sith, unfortunately.
This is a very good point and might be a very critical part of the deck construction of this particular deck.
I was hoping he was going to be Underworld because...
Ton of Underworld stuff.
Well, because he's Darth Maul, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
He's Darth, bro.
He also could have technically been Separatist, kind of. But no, there's literally no Force or...
So, folks, ignore the last 5 minutes of this podcast.
well, no, not exactly, because we do, for those that are maybe don't know, we do have a set, a couple sets away, called Legends of the Force, and then after that, Secrets of Power.
And so,
no, but it's to say that in the future deck building, you can do that.
In the future.
Yes, this is the Faith from. Yes, this is Faith from November 14th, 2025, telling you to be on the lookout for some very cool Inquisitors to join Little Bro. And
speaking of Inquisitors, you could but like I was just looking at other 5-drops to do with her. Like you could do 7 Sister. She's got Saboteur and she's doing 3 damage. She gets to like hit base and clear a unit on turn 2. Like it's not terrible.
It's not great.
It's not great. It's not terrible. Not great. I don't know.
I do think the best way to think about now there are 2 of them is it's just a ramp card.
For sure.
It's a conditional ramp card, but it's just a ramp card. And if you want a ramp in your deck, you should put it in. If you don't, leave it out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a ramp card that gives you negative card advantage, right? So you're trying to use that tempo to your advantage. And as Jrod was saying earlier, Control isn't trying to out tempo you, so they're not trying to ramp something out because that's not their game plan, right?
Sure, I figured
aggro or mid range, definitely that is their game plan.
Yeah, and it's Yellow's way of ramping. Like every color is going to have different ways of maybe doing similar things. Where green is definitely more of a hard ramp, you're putting it as a resource to get ahead. This is Yellow ways to get ahead, and like they have other cards like that when we're thinking of Triple Dark Raid and Sneak Attack. Those are all ways that Yellow is quote unquote ramping.
But historically in other card games, cards that allow you to ramp essentially for free, quote unquote, usually end up being pretty good, right? Like you're essentially just getting free mana, free resources.
Yes. The nice thing about this card is that it doesn't have a cap. So in Lorcana, there's a card that for 3 resources lets you play a turn 5 card, I think, something like that. I think it's called Jump Ahead. But that
one jump ahead.
Yeah, but that's capped at a 5-cost unit, if I'm not mistaken. And so this allows you to still on turn, when you have 5 resources, play something that costs 7, which that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you have an empty board and you can deploy your leader on 5.
Yes, and your leader being a huge thing.
And get out a 7-drop. I mean, getting out the 7 drops in this game early is definitely good. I mean, look at Han 2 from last set, getting out like Luke Skywalker's earlier array, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, getting Luke out on 5 is definitely pretty nuts. That's what the whole point of the yellow Yoda deck was, right? And maybe as I was playing it, maybe it's just supposed to be only using that card to get Luke out early and not like going from turn 1 to turn 4. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's supposed to be, hey, I'm on turn 3 and now I can play Luke. You know?
Yeah, Luke is honestly, he's one of the best late game cards just in the game, period. He nukes the dude when he comes into play, and he then swings for 6, 7, and restores 3. Restoring 3 is a huge number. Like it's almost like GG's if you're playing against aggro and they can't answer it. It's just GG's on the spot.
Yeah. Like I've played against a couple aggro opponents with my Yoda Yellow, and I've put Luke on turn 4, and they're like, "Okay, that's game." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yep. Skip it up. Right. On to the next one.
So I figured it out. Turn 1, you play droid deployment, and then you sacrifice those 2 droid deployments.
To play Asajj
on turn 1 with the exploit, and then you play now there are 2 of them on turn 2 and get out Maul.
So then you're doing all of that to basically resource or discard 2 cards, so you have like 1 card in hand after that.
Well, with Asajj leader, you can tap and give your Asajj Ventress at least a little bit of a bonus buff on her attack, but she's only attacking as a 3/4, which is not. And you didn't have, and Maul's not separatist, so not going to trigger the on attack.
Seems like a lot of hoops to jump through. It was a cute idea. I guess we'll just have to bank it for now. I think that could be like a good spot for it in the future if we have cards that line up a little bit better. And maybe there are some other cards that line up better than Maul, but he just seemed like he was some of the best to kind of clear the board and keep your other units alive, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair though.
Otherwise, it seems really good. Just 4-card combo.
Who says there's no combos in Star Wars Unlimited?
That's one card that I haven't seen a ton of a home for is Asajj the unit.
That's because she's kind of mid ?
I just don't think Red wants to be exploiting. I think that's actually the true problem. Like, there's no token creators in Red. They're in like other colors, so it's like green. And right now, Villain Green and Villain Red don't pair well. It's not the same game plan.
Well, if you want to see a video where they do pair well, you can check out the Maul deck list.
All right, we already plugged it once. Okay. Sell up. Actually, if you already checked it out from the last time we plugged it, don't check it out again this time and actually go unlike the video because we said it twice now. I'm just kidding. Don't do that, please. We need the money.
Just going back now to them because I think it's just such a captivating card for me. I've seen some people try like with a Wat Tambor deck, using it in a yellow Wat deck and getting out Admiral Trench on turn 1, which is the 7-cost exploit 1/5/5 that when played return up to 3 units that were defeated this phase. So you can play like a Hoggle on turn 1, and then they will have the official trait and also the separatist trait as well. But you can play like any official turn 1. Do that. And this time, though, instead of it being 2 cards you have to pay, you do get the card that you sacrifice with the exploit from Admiral Trench back to your hand because you use that when played trigger. So that's just kind of an interesting thing I've seen with it that makes it not as much of a card disadvantage.
Interesting.
It's definitely fair.
Something that I think people can sometimes miss in card games is like your health as a resource. You also have like things like your card advantage, both cards on the field, cards in your hand. These are all going to be important things that you're evaluating when looking at a card. So now there are 2 of them, can get you ahead on the board, but then it will put you behind with cards in your hand. That's not always the worst case, but it's something to keep in mind of. Kind of a similar thing with exploit itself as well, where if you're exploiting a unit, especially a non-token unit, it's costing you an additional card basically to get that thing out early.
And I'm going to quickly jump back to Pax Unplugged for 1 second because Marauder Mo just posted in the Discord that he has his cube set up ready to go for Pax Unplugged. And I'm excited to draft it there. So if you come find me, you might have an opportunity to draft a cube. And if you've never drafted a cube before, it's pretty rad. So I'm interested to see what he's done to the cube and how he has it set up.
That is interesting. Dudeness, have you ever drafted a cube before?
I have drafted an online Magic cube, but nothing IRL.
I find cubes are fun to draft. The idea of them is interesting, like which themes they want to push. You'll see, like in other games, they will have cultivated cubes, which will try to evoke certain themes. Any kind of limited thing I think is interesting. I am excited to do like a chaos draft at some point, which is another way of drafting for people who maybe don't know, which is where you get 1 pack of set 1, 1 pack of set 2, and 1 pack of set 3, and you do a draft that way. It lets you kind of do a little bit different things where you're reaching across more traits and reaching across more cards. In this game, it does work because we have things like Mace Windu and Count Dooku in set 1 that are Republic and Separatist traits, and we have things like Morgan and Stelia that are the Rebel and Imperial traits in set 3. So you're able to kind of get these different things from different sets, different traits from different sets. But overall, cubes are pretty fun.
Yeah, I've actually got to draft his cube. There's a set 2 cube. I haven't drafted a set 3 cube yet. But it was a super fun time. We had some people who hadn't drafted a cube before and didn't even really know what it was. And then everyone has had a great time. So if you like drafting, I would definitely recommend trying it out, testing it out. So the only thing different with the cube draft is you don't get to keep the cards you draft. It's someone's property, so you just have to give it back. But other than that,
true. Which for pure drafting purposes makes for a more pure draft. You don't have people like me in the draft which are like, ooh, this is a rare for my collection. I'm going to take it.
I definitely do that as well.
I would never do that.
Yeah, you do it all the time. Who are you talking
about? I've never done that in my entire life.
Uncross your fingers, sir. Are they uncrossed now?
Nope.
Oh.
Well, if you want Dudeness to start rare drafting, make sure you like this video. Leave in the comments below what card you think is going to be big in set 3, Twilight of the Republic, in a few weeks. We'll see you next time on Outmaneuver.
Yep, cheers, y'all.
Later.